Marlene Motivates. I am your life coach, and we have Lisa J. Stocks. Go ahead, Lisa, and announce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. We are back for another episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. As Marlene let you know, I am Lisa J. Stocks. So make sure to like and subscribe.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Lisa. And of course, everybody, if you guys are not acquainted with Lisa's channel, go over there, check out her content, watch some videos, shorts, whatever it is that you like, live streams, and get to know Lisa. Okay. So, today on Financial Friday, we're going to be talking about financing our future. Now, I know that there is a lot of us, me included, way back when, many years ago, where I used to depend so much on other things to, keep me in line, depending on credit cards and getting loans and doing so many other things, but we're going to talk about how we can finance our future in a way that we can achieve some financial stability, financial independence. So, today's topic, we're going to be talking about four ways that we really can get into financing our future. And I wanted to have Lisa here because Lisa really gets into the aspect of the investment part, and I by no means am, am the one to talk about the investing segment. And that's why I have Lisa here. So her advice is so important and so necessary. And I thank her. So, Lisa, when you think about financing your future, what are some things that you think when it comes to the investment side?
So, oh gosh, Marlene, I think so many things. I think like right now, I really want to give people encouragement to not be turned off to what we're going through.
Mhm.
Because I've had people say it to me. I remember it was a couple years back. It was around Cinco de Mayo. Maybe it was the year before last. And Bitcoin was at about $50,000. And
Mhm.
I was like, oh, we were having a little event at work, free lunch. And I was buying my Bitcoin and I kept on buying because I was like, this price is, it has dipped a little bit today. And my coworkers are saying to me like, "Really?" And even, a couple years back when Tesla was really beat down,
Mhm.
I was buying. And well, those were different times. So right now with this government shutdown and the trade tensions and everything that's going on with our new administration, um, you know, now that I'm reflecting back over the years, these are the times to stick to your plan and make sure that you are investing more heavily, because all this is going to turn around, and we are not going to, if you freeze up in fear, you're going to not be able to you're not going to be in the place where you're
Yeah.
staying focused and investing and reaping the rewards down the road, is what I'm trying to get at. And when I look back, over the years, like I'm saying now, I wasn't investing outside of my 401k back in 2008. But looking back on the charts, that was one of the
Mhm.
worst years, and I would say our lifetimes. Um, and I'm glad that I wasn't investing extra, but I invested out throughout that whole year, even though it was a tough year for me. I invested throughout the entire year, and looking back, if I would have only known, if I would have only been more in tune with it, I would have invested more heavily.
Right, and that's a great thought. Welcome in, everybody. Make sure that you go over, you subscribe to Lisa's channel, and you check out my channel if you are new. Um, Today's conversation about financing your future. I went ahead a little bit. I should have started this conversation by saying that financing your future really it's a term, and it refers to the process of planning for your long-term financial security by managing your money, saving, and investing. And that's something that we really need to have more of these conversations because many people do not have financial literacy.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's something that I know for me. I learned that financial literacy in my adulthood. It wasn't really in my childhood. Even though I saw my parents do things, but it's a whole nother scenario when it's you involved with your own money. What do you think about that, Lisa?
Yeah, definitely. I think you had more more knowledge instilled with you, from past conversations that I've had with you.
Mhm,
You had more of an example in your home life than I did.
mm,
But yeah, I mean, you can't turn a blind eye to it. It needs attention. It needs attention. You need to advocate for yourself. Just like in so many other aspects of life, your financial future, your investing, your savings, you have to get out there and figure it out. And you have to know, even if you don't figure it out completely, you just at least have to come to the table with some questions to ask. Because, if you just walk in the door with no knowledge at all, then you might just go by whatever they tell you to do. And they may not have your best interests in mind, so we have to be ready. If you know what I'm saying, you have to know what you're looking for. If you have the contractor coming, if you have a medical issue, you have to be able to go in there and give some insight, give some backgrounds. And so, like with your investments, you have to be able to express what you are looking for. And I have a business account at my local bank, and I was in there the other day, speaking to some of them, and I told them, I have a significant portion of my money at another bank because your APY is
mhm.
0.01%. And I was like, okay. They was like, no, let me talk to you. Let's set up an a meeting and let's set up an appointment. And I was like, okay, what can you do that's going to have me with at least 3.5% interest? If I stay here, if you're, they said, oh no, that was it. End of story. I
Yeah,
said
they're
the
like,
thing.
"Okay, I'm out."
Yeah, I told them where my bar was. I told them what I was looking
Mhm.
for. And yeah, they were like, no, we cannot. Nothing.
Well, well, then you cannot have my money,
Yes.
right? Oh, I'm so glad that you said that. One of the things that we have to have more conversations about as adults is not leaving it to the financial institutions or to financial advisors and planners and other people. We have to be on board and know what we want to do, and we have to be doing our research and all of those things, so that we can elevate and have a better life than maybe your parents had or other people before you, your ancestors. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really trying my best to be more on board with, you know, doing research and reading and
We can't hear you, Marlene. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, while we're waiting for Marlene, oh, are you back? Okay. Okay.
that, guys. But we really do have to be the driver's seat of our
Your audio's still breaking up a little bit. It's kind of in and out. Yeah, your video and your audio is a little glitchy. I can hear you clearly now, but the video's it's not moving smoothly. But yeah, coffee no cream is putting messages in there too. They're having a little yeah.
But we're just going to push through it anyways. Um, Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Really appreciate every single one of you. These conversations, like what Lisa and myself are having today, are very important because many people don't think about that planning stage until it gets to the, like, you're almost ready for retirement. And
Mhm,
we don't want to wait. We want to plan. We want to know what we want, what we like, and so that we can feel comfortable, so we can be knowledgeable, and we can do what we need to do if we need to do more investing, more saving, more budgeting, whatever is necessary, so that we can be in a good space to finance our future.
mhm. Yeah, we don't wanna be 67 and have to go to work in order to supplement our income. We see it happening, you know?
Yeah. And in this economy right now, it is so many people who probably had been to the space of retirement, and then because they weren't expecting for this spot downward spiral,
Mhm,
not expecting it. And then they find themselves going back to work or using more than they had planned to use. So their money is evaporating faster. So it's a lot involved, not just thinking about you have to also think about the cost of living increases and all of those things when you are talking about planning for the future.
yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, and, even finding a job, depending on what your background is, but there's just a lack of jobs in general, so we can't think that that even if we did need to do something at an older age, that we could find something that's suited to our, our particular
Mhm.
needs at that stage of life, so
Yeah. So I wanted to, we're going to get into talking about four things that we can do so that we can finance our future. Some of the key aspects of financing our future. And the first one is really thinking about budgeting and savings. And I know that a lot of people, when they hear that, budgeting and savings, they get tense. Because I know I used to get really tense about budgeting and savings because I feel like this is all I have. Like, how can I budget more? How can I save more? But you have to really find out. Are there things that are some holes being poked in my plans for my retirement? Am I wasting? Am I not utilizing my money to the best way? Am I not getting the best? I can't think of the word. Am I getting the best?
mhm. Yeah, budgeting, I'm not the best at budgeting, I must admit, but every once in a while, even if it's every 2, 3 months, you have to sit down and really comb through it. Or else, like you're saying, those money leaks are going to be getting past you. Those increases to certain subscriptions and things like that, you're not going to be on top of it. Those fees that you might be getting charged on your bank account or something like that. You can't let these things slip by. But like I said, I'm not gonna say that I am perfect every single solitary month that I'm doing, coming down to a zero-based budget, but I make sure to take the time to, reflect on those subscriptions and things like that and take a look and see, okay, so the Wi-Fi bill went up or something increased. What is it? And make sure that you can call up them and you can check on certain things. I've turned off the XM radio in my car recently. I decided to cut that out of my budget And as soon as that happens, the next few months, they keep sending me offers in the mail, trying to give me specials. And even when I was turning it off, of course, on that initial call to eliminate that subscription, they were saying to me, "Well, we can give you this special price." And I was like, "No, no, no. I'm closing it out for
Yeah.
now."
Yeah, sometimes it's not until people lose your business before they get really inventive about how they can, oh, how can I get them back? Because I think a lot of businesses don't think that you'll actually leave.
Yeah, that like these certain things, it's not life or death.
Yeah.
And the electric, the gas, yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to
I
work that
need that.
out. But these subscriptions, the way that these prices are increasing, you have to prioritize the needs, not the wants. And that
Yeah.
definitely was just a extra luxury comfort thing for me that I can live without.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I always go by it doesn't hurt to ask whether it's, the interest rate on your credit card. If they increase, you call up and say, can I get 6 months still at the previous rate? Just call
Yeah.
and ask. And a lot of times I don't change my providers very often. And
Mhm.
so a lot of times when I ask, they say yes. Or if I accidentally, pay late, I call and, can you please remove the late fee? They'll remove it because they can look and they can see, oh, she's been a customer with us for, a long length of time and she hasn't had any late payments. And so it comes off. So, Marlene, are you there? Are you there? Okay. No, now I'm looking at the, seems like Marlene's having some connection issues. But yeah, are you back?
I don't know what's going on. It's glitching like crazy. I don't know
Okay.
if it's kicking me out.
I'm gonna do my best to keep talking. I was gonna go on to talking about some giving every dollar a job.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
No, no, no.
Lisa. Okay.
I'm a person. I don't like dead air when I'm on the live. So,
Mhm.
I can see you're having some issues. I'm gonna try
Yeah.
my best to keep the conversation going.
And I appreciate it, Lisa. Thank you so much. Let's go backtrack a little bit. We were talking a little bit earlier about budgeting and savings, and many people know about the 50-30-20 rule when it comes to that. And that means 50% should be your needs, 30% should be your wants, and 20% should be your savings. But, I kind of have been shifting that a little bit. I don't know about you, Lisa, but I have been shifting like what really qualifies a want and what really do you want. It's kind of like the lines have become blurred because it's not something that you have to have, but it's necessary for what you need to do in your day-to-day life. So it sometimes those wants and needs kind of get blurred and you have to plan for it.
Mhm,
Make your budget ready for it by making sure you're cutting out unnecessary and all of those things. So that was one thing when it came to my budget. Of course, your needs, that 50% is going to be your expenses, your groceries, your housing. That's not nothing that you can cut out that part. But when it comes to your wants part, that 30%, that's a major part of your budget. And like you were saying, Lisa, cutting out the extra like XM radio and other things. Like a few of my things that I have cut out of mine is having so many streaming services at home. Like I used to have like 8 to 10, and now that I've cut down to three.
mhm.
So if you could find ways to get, 20, 30, $40 here and there, you can be able to push more money into your savings. And I feel like that's really the goal.
Someone recently shared some different services with me. I haven't signed up for them yet because you have to have your library card and your library number to put into them, but it gives you access to some additional free movies and free audiobooks as opposed to having Audible and paying for those things. Um, but yeah, definitely. And how you're saying like you have a blur between the wants and needs. I think that's going to be different for everyone, because some people they may think that something that I consider a need, they think you can do it yourself. That's you're just indulging yourself by spending money for that. But I would say, like for me, I would say my treat for myself or something that I definitely spend on is getting my hair braided.
Yeah.
That's something I like and might not someone might not think as a need, but yeah, it's something that I do.
Yeah, but
And
that's a part
um
of self-care though,
yeah.
Lisa. That's for me, that's a need.
Oh, okay. It's a need for me too. But for me, then, like you were saying, like, the percentages. Yeah, I definitely cannot stick to those percentages. And I always say that as far as the saving, if say you're doing 15 investing and 5 saving, um, it depends. It depends because if I run into a larger expense and I have to deplete my savings, then I'm going to be replenishing it. And then I may get to the point where I'm not putting anything into savings. I'm just focusing on investing because I feel that my savings is at, an adequate place. And so yeah, I think there's going to be flexibility and changes. Everyone is going to be a little different when it comes to those different percentages because
Right.
yeah, obviously things change and you're going to have to take time to adapt to it. Your car insurance goes up, your electric bill goes up um in the same year unexpectedly more than you
Mhm.
expected, some type of property taxes or something like that. Then obviously those you might have to then decrease the wants, or
Mhm.
decrease the savings temporarily in order to adjust and get on track with those increased costs. I know it's definitely happened to me.
Yeah. And that's the part of adulting that you really can be very frustrating, but you got to stick to it. You can't just throw your hands up in the air. And what is a thing that I can't speak for everybody, but for myself, there was a while in my life where I was living on credit cards, and I'm not proud of that, but being without a job,
Mm,
stretching, using up all your savings, and because of everything has gone up in cost. I had to. It was just like a survival thing. But then when you get back on track, you have to remember to put away those habits too, because I had got used to using it. I said, no, we're okay. We don't have to put everything on the credit card. We have different funds and accounts for those things. So that was, I'm just speaking for myself.
mhm.
I had to remind myself that sometimes you get comfortable and kind of lax and not doing what you need to do, like not putting as much as you can into your savings and not putting as much as you can into investing, um, and just doing other things and just trying to have fun spending money on yourself and splurging. So I had to get myself back in the habit of thinking about investing again and saving as much as I can and cutting out the unnecessaries.
Yeah, I think that's when automating certain things, taking it out of
Mhm.
your hands and then giving
Yes.
yourself that extra step. And hopefully if you sent it to a particular account, you won't then
Mhm.
give in and go and withdraw and just let it,
Right.
build and be going to those buckets and staying there where they're
Right.
supposed to be. But yeah, I think
Mhm.
I mean, I definitely went through those. I call those the lean years when something came up and I used my credit card. No, I was not going to be able to pay it off in full. It
Mhm.
might take me a year to pay, to get it, down. But that's just where I was at, and
Mhm.
thankfully, um, the times that I was laid off or uh, ran into issues with my job, I then was on unemployment, or I had a good enough severance in order to hold me through until I had my next opportunity.
Wow. Yeah. We never really can plan for the unexpected, the unknown. You just kind of, I feel like when you're having those good years, when things are going very well, that you really can't just think about overindulging in buying things. And don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
I am a luxury girl. I like luxury things, but at the same time, I have to remind myself that yes, you want to buy this purse, these shoes, this whatever, this luxury vacation, but also think about um, uh, would you like to retire 1 month earlier, or are you going to buy that purse? Those are the terms that I'm thinking these days.
I don't know about a month. I'm trying to, yeah, I think we're aiming for a year.
No, no, Lisa, I'm aiming for if the quicker I can get out the door, even if it's a month earlier.
Okay.
I was like, yes, get me out
Okay.
of here.
I
That's
hear
where I
you.
am right now. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just saying, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Um, and I just wanted to share the very first time that I got laid off, I had the most substantial severance that I ever received.
Mhm.
And I got a job within 2 months. Didn't happen like that the other times, but it really, I would say that that really had me on a good path, even though it was something terrible that led to it. I then was getting 2 paychecks for about a year because I found a job so quickly.
Wow, that's wonderful, Lisa.
Yeah, but
Not not not
it
that
doesn't.
not that it's wonderful that you got
No,
laid off. I don't mean that, but
it worked out. It worked out.
yeah.
At least I have worked for companies that, mostly, not all, but mostly, gave me a pretty significant notice of the end date, and, there was some severance and retention offered if I did stay, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that's well, I feel like that's one of the only benefits, making sure that you're with a reliable company. I think that's important. And hey, everybody in the chat, let's take a break to look at the chat. Hey, Sirius. Hi, Realist. Hi, Coffee No Cream. Hi, Global Empire. How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to hit the like, to subscribe to not only this channel, but also to Lisa's channel as well. Um, so now let's go into the second part. Another way that we can finance our future is managing debt. Thank you so much, Real Odds and Evens. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the super sticker. Um, Managing your debt. Um, I think that's a challenge right now because of, like we've said over and over again, and we're going to keep saying it, is things are expensive, and some of the expenses that everyday people are having is not something that you can avoid. It's just, that's just what it is. But we want to put a focus on managing, not having the extra debt. And I think that can do a lot of things for us if we keep ourselves focused and we have our plan and we're eliminating these things. So I'm going to talk about one thing and then I'm going to go back to Lisa. So managing debt. That means that we should be paying off debts. And I think a lot of people really don't think about when you're paying off your debt, really focus on the debt that has the highest interest rate. And a lot of times people will just be thinking about in terms of numbers, how much you owe, but it's really you should be paying down the ones that have the highest interest rate.
I
Mm.
agree with you. I'm an avalanche
Yeah,
method person too. I am not
yeah,
a snowball method.
yeah.
Um, meaning what Marlene just explained, the highest interest rate versus the
Mhm.
smallest balance. But there are people that y- talk about both. But to me,
Mhm.
what you're describing, that's what resonates with me also.
Yeah.
Because, I don't want to lose any more money, but mentally, sometimes lower amounts make you feel like you accomplished
Yes.
something, just like with the share price when we come to our investments. Some people, they gravitate towards like SPLG share price is much lower than VOO or,
Mhm.
but they both track the S&P 500, but, you know, they just think that, oh, I can get my share sizes are going to grow faster. So mentally they like it. But that's not the way I go when it comes to my stocks. And it's not the way that I go when I go towards when it comes to paying my debt down. I definitely would sit down, face the numbers, which I know that can be terrifying when you have to. But what I think you should do if you do have multiple cards and multiple things that you need to address is just like Marlene was describing, put down the account, the balance, the interest rate, and then start with that highest interest rate and just
Mhm.
plug away at it. And as those do balance transfers, do whatever you can, and
Mhm.
as you're able to pay off one, then move all of the money that you were doing to that one to get that one down, move it down to the next highest interest rate. And I've definitely been there. I've definitely played those when you open up the card and do the balance transfer. And yeah,
Mhm.
I was every month as I was paying on it, I was dividing, what the balance was
Yes.
because I knew, okay, now I have 15 months left. I have 14 months left. And
Yeah.
just plugging away at it and making sure that when I got to the end of um my time frame that I did the balance transfer for, that either I'm ready to transfer again if I wasn't able to get it completely paid off or I'm done.
Yeah.
Have you used that process of having to do
Yeah.
balance transfer? Yes. Okay.
I think and I think I'm glad that you mentioned it because a lot of people really, I don't think, are utilizing it. Take advantage of that balance transfer so that you can have that a period of time where you can get a break and catch up in other aspects like with savings and other things. So I think that's a really good plan.
Yeah. And a few months back, I'm not sure exactly how long, but I had Calvin on. He's another fellow YouTuber. His channel
Mhm.
is 850 credit score. And I asked him a question about refinancing your car.
Mhm.
And sometimes people don't like that I bring up these certain topics, but I got to keep it real. People are in different stages of um, their journey when it comes to their finances,
Mhm.
and I wanted him to talk about it because they might not have known that, and they might be in a 7 year high interest car loan and not even know that that is a consideration that you can go and see if you can refinance it and get into a lower rate. Now, do I want you going and buying a car that's so expensive and paying for it for that many years? No. But if the day that you discover my channel, that's where you're at, then I want the
Mhm.
message to get to you so that you can be aware of these different options and, just be in tune with um, taking these opportunities to get yourself on a better financial path,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I think it's true because everybody's not in the same financial bracket. People are, various ages. People have different situations.
Mhm.
There's no cookie cutter, set of rules about how things are going to go and all of that. No, everybody's different. Everybody has different situations, finances, but you have to evaluate your situation and find out how can I better utilize my money. And I think it's important for us to really think about, okay, there's some debt that I have that I can't help it. This is the debt that I have. But also, is there a way that you could maybe refinance, like you said, and lower it so that you can have more money in your pocket to be able to do investing and savings and, just take better care of yourself? That's a very important thing that I talk about over here on this channel about elevating the quality of your life. And if you're under so much pressure with debt, and if you could have an extra $100, $200 of wiggle room, isn't that gonna make you're gonna feel better? You're gonna have
Mhm,
more peace?
mhm,
You will. I think
yeah.
that's important.
And I've shared with you, I am much more of a credit card person than Marlene is
Yes.
nowadays.
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely make sure to use credit if I'm doing a larger purchase that I can get, say, 24 months interest free or something like that.
Mhm,
Even if I'm just paying for it over time and I have the money that I could pay it in full, I'd rather just have the money in my high yield savings account and pay for it over time than to put all of that money towards the debt. If I'm not incurring any interest, I'm not going to be in
mhm.
a rush to pay it. But that's just how I go about using my credit, you know?
Yeah, but everybody does things different, and that's why I always say that's why I love collaboration, because maybe some of you are like myself, maybe some of you
Mhm,
are like Lisa, but when we come together, it's the ideas, giving you more ideas, more knowledge, more awareness, and so we can make better financial decisions.
mhm.
That's what these financial Fridays are about.
Yeah. So, guys, in a prior show that I did with Marlene, Marlene was like talking about someone paying for their dinner and different things out and about with
Mhm,
their credit card. And I was like, Marlene, that wouldn't tell me anything because it could be a cup of coffee, it could be, I anything. I don't I'm gonna be paying with my card. So if that's how you're judging what my financial state is, I tell you that if I was out with someone else and they were like paying for their everything, their gas, the Dunkin' Donuts, their dinner with their card, I wouldn't think that they're not financially on top of things because I wouldn't
mhm,
know. I wouldn't know because I know that I'm not carrying credit card debt,
mhm.
but I know I use my card for all those little expenses throughout the
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
So, but
yeah.
Marlene,
It's cool, Lisa. That's what I said. To each his or her own. You know
yes,
what Lisa does, if that benefits you, then keep doing it. But
yeah,
my thing is I know that I'm not a person that has a lot of self-control when it
okay,
comes to a credit card. I know that about myself because that's the reason why I'm not also into having a debit card either. I'm more of a cash person.
okay,
So because I know when I take that card, I'll just say swipe, swipe, swipe. But I know
hmm
when I have money in my hands, I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not spending this.
Yeah, whereas I use the credit card because I want the points and I want the cash back and all the different rewards, but then I'm always looking at it and paying it as constant as I can throughout the month. Like Bank of America, I can pay that like multiple times. They but some, like Citibank, they have more of a limitation on how many times that you can make payments throughout the month, but I make
Okay.
sure to be on top of it. But yeah, I've hate like but I know when I've been out as soon as you go out the house and go to you start to spend so much. So I make sure to keep looking at the cards and be on top of sending payments in regular.
Yeah. I agree. I agree, Lisa. Realist says I use a card to be simple. Yeah. That's you have to know yourself. That's what I think is important. You can't follow what I do if you don't feel comfortable doing that, or the same thing with Lisa. You have to know yourself and what works for you. And sometimes things that we're doing is not really working. So these suggestions that Lisa and myself give is just for you to think about, okay, what could I be doing better? And I think that's what it's about. Let's see. I think I wanted to talk about also when it comes to managing debt, also to think about managing your debt. So by not taking on more than you can afford to pay back. This is something, Lisa, I have to tell you. This was a big deal for me because when I was younger and I was like 19 years old, I didn't think about that. Oh, I said, I'm about to buy myself this Gucci belt. Right? Because and I wasn't thinking, and then when I saw, like, I did not pay it off at the end of the month because I didn't have that financial literacy to know about, late fees and charges and all of those things. So that's one of the things that I just want to say in transparency, to say that make sure that you are not taking on more than you can afford. So each of us has to know what that is. Um, and one thing that I want to say to everybody, I'm not judging anybody. This is a safe zone. We're not judging anybody. I'm just saying for us to think about it. Can I afford to buy this? Is this going to affect other things in my life? Like, spending this money, is this going to take away from money for my retirement, for my savings, for my investing? That's the sort of things that I think about now that I'm older and wiser.
Mhm, mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I treat myself. I like nice things too, Marlene.
Yeah.
Um, but what I would do is, like, I've treated myself, I've gone to the Gucci store and I bought a handbag. I go to
Hmm.
Bloomingdale's and I buy, a more luxury item. But what I'll price it out and I'll be prepared because I'm gonna be paying it in full. And I really didn't
Hmm.
indulge in things like that when I was like in my early 20s.
Hmm.
Would say I've done them more later in life when I had the money mindset of I'm not gonna charge $1,000 and not be able to pay it. And when I do buy something that's a little more than the norm, then I'm going to just be ready for it, and realize that this is not. I don't do it every year, so
Yeah.
you know. But
Yeah.
that's where I'm
That's
at.
true. That's the truth, Lisa.
Yeah.
And that's an honest conversation that each of us has to know ourselves and what we can afford. So learn from me, learn from Marlene, and don't just go out there and just buying things to try to keep up with the Joneses or keep up with people on social media, or you're trying to impress people. Because I had to really get to that space of saying, remember, after you purchase this, remember this bill is coming in your name. So I like to remind myself of that. Kind of get balanced and not thinking about so much about other people and actually what I like, but more of, can I afford this? Is this going to break me? Is this going to pull me back from my plan?
Mhm, mhm.
That's where I am right now.
Yeah. I actually had someone criticize me for, I had taken a picture. I shared a picture
Mhm.
on social media, and I was out, the picture, I was on Rodeo Drive, like out sightseeing.
Mhm.
And whether I'm on Rodeo Drive and I'm gonna go into the Chanel store or whatever store I was standing
Right?
in front of, whether I'm going in there and buying something or not. Like,
Yeah.
can I not go and walk around and just enjoy myself and look at the
Mhm.
Beverly Hills Hotel and some things that I might have seen in movies?
Yeah, like
But yeah,
people
they're
don't know
like,
your income and what you've planned for.
but I think they think that my messaging is about, which it is. It is about prioritizing your savings and investing and not having more. I definitely do not have more value in any amount of handbags, jewelry, my
Mhm.
car, not even barely my homes. My investment account outweighs
Mhm.
all of those things. So,
Right.
yeah.
It's all about balance, and each I feel, especially on social media, so many people are watching people with a, what do you call it? What's that? Microscope, or evaluating, judging whatever other people are doing, but yet look at your own life. Stop worrying about what Lisa or me or anybody on social media is doing, and think about yourself and your plans, your bank accounts, or whatever is going on with you financially, and and get yourself on track. I think that's the very important message that I want these financial Fridays to be about. Not it's not to judge, it's for us to have conversations like, myself and Lisa, we're not perfect, but we plan and we read and we gain knowledge and we invest and we put ourselves in the right space in order for our future to be better.
Mhm. And, I know I've been through different stages in life, and I know I was in a place where, my first car that I bought, I obviously I was a younger person. I wasn't as established. I'm not gonna have the same amount of money to put down. I'm not gonna
Mhm,
be able to have, buy it outright or just have 2 years of car payments as opposed to, like I was talking about earlier, 5 years. So I
mhm,
can understand, and I know that is a need, reliable transportation depending on where you live
mhm,
and your family situation. I'm not going to say you should go take public transportation. That
yeah,
might not be feasible and reasonable for where you live.
right.
Um, but yeah, just try to do the best, whatever stage of life that you are in. Don't make a situation where all of your money is going into the car insurance, and all of these things, and not leaving yourself anything to improve your financial future, and not
Mhm,
allow yourself to be into a setback of mounting debt every time that something happens. And I've been there. I
mhm,
don't want to be there again. I'm okay sharing it, because that's our truth. That's my truth.
mhm,
But if you can avoid it by just hearing the insights and just realizing that it's not a good place to be. You don't want to have to be in the place where you have to recover and repair your credit score. You have to be battling the interest rate and the interest just building on your credit card. You feel like you make a payment and then you're looking at it and it went right back up again.
right,
So just like Marlene was talking about earlier, we got to prioritize what is truly a want, what is a need, and um, being careful when it comes to having to tap into using our credit.
right, right. And I wanted to say that, also in this category of managing debt, we can't leave out getting student loans and mortgages and, car payments and things like that. There's some things that we can't avoid because maybe at that time you don't have it financially, but it's how big of a loan are you going to get? How big of a mortgage? And that's what we're talking about in managing debt, making sure that it's something that it's not going to break you if you know you don't have to depend on, like, say, your spouse or other people to help you. Can you be able to handle this debt on your own? These are the things that we have to really think about.
That's one thing I've never had was student loan debt. But I've heard people say that they took the amount, and I heard one person say that they renovated their kitchen, bought a car, did different things
Mhm.
with the money that was taken from the student loan. So in the long
Mhm.
run, it can't be worth it. It cannot be worth it.
No,
Yeah. But
I
so for some strange reason, that is one form of debt that I never, um, got caught up in.
Yeah, me,
Yeah.
me either. I never had it, but I've known people who have had student loan debt, got it, in college. And I mean, in their late 50s, they still had the same student loans. So it was
Mhm,
like, I was like, was that really worth it to get that loan for, if you have that loan for over 30 years?
mhm.
For me personally, I don't think that's worth it. But
Yeah, well, yeah, if your career if your career and your earnings didn't warrant the
yeah,
amount of debt that you took on. But yeah, when they're kids, when you're a teenager, it seems crazy that someone who's so young is able to even, uh, take on the responsibility for taking on that amount of debt. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I just said. Think, make sure, is this something that you're going to be able to afford, and all of those things. And we're here at the last segment, Lisa. Like I talked to you earlier in IG, this is the last point, which I think is one of the most important things. And that's, what are some of the ways that you can finance your future? And that's investing in your long term growth. And this is not my lane at all. This is where Marlene is just going to be quiet, and I'm going to take out my pen and take some notes from Lisa. But investing for your long term growth, I think that's something that's very important for us to think about when it comes to that financial growth and literacy and all of those things. So, Lisa, any advice?
Oh, advice. This is not financial advice.
Tips? I should say
But
tips then.
when it comes to I think I started off the top of the show talking a little bit about this. Right now, I looked up the fear and greed index before we started the show, and and you can look that up on CNN and different sites. And it's kind of a gauge that'll tell you when investors are being cautious because of everything that's going on, when they're more risk adverse and emotional when it comes to the state of the economy and the way that the market is moving and everything like that. So right now we're not in extreme fear. We're at like right at the border out of extreme fear just into fear. And this is when people can really make those mistakes of um like I was talking about earlier, not sticking to their plan of keeping up with their investments, selling off prematurely, holding on to cash when this is the time to deploy the cash, when the market is beat down, when we run into these times when there are stresses that occur. And um, I just want people to zoom out and maybe do some reflection on to different time periods that we've lived through already, and then realize what happens afterwards, the recovery that you're not going to be able to be a part of. You're not going to buy at the bottom and then years from now say, wow, I was investing at that price and now it's up so much higher. um, we have to look at it that way and not look like, oh, this is a disaster, this administration, this the tariffs, there's war, there's whatever is going on. And then we just sit there on our hands and scale back our plan. At least what I do personally is I stick to my plan, but on top of that, if I see an extra opportunity, that's when I'm gonna go heavier. And I just had one of those, not so much this week, I maybe a little bit in the earlier, but definitely let me go back to last week, Friday.
Okay.
Trump spoke or sent out a tweet, about this thing that was going on with the rare earths in China, and about 11 a.m. last week, Friday, I believe, if I'm saying the right day. And yeah, the market really dropped off like crazy. And so that was an opportunity because there are certain things that I'm in the building phase. And then the same day, Friday night, about 5:30, the crypto market just dropped down like crazy too. And so those are both areas that I have interest in. I had money ready to deploy more so in my ETFs during the daytime, but I'll tell you, I didn't realize how much it was gonna drop, and I thought I was wrapped up with my investments for the day by like 12 noon. I was investing like every hour of the afternoon, and I still had orders filling in the after hours because I
Mhm.
had put in some limit orders, meaning I put in like I will buy one share. I put the order into the brokerage. I will buy one share at a particular price, not the market price, a limit price. I'm setting the price. So I had a few orders that filled after the market closed because yeah, it just kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And like I said, I'm not looking at this as it's going to stay, it's just going to continue to tank. I know what I'm investing into. And so, especially if it's not a single individual stock, if it's a basket of stocks, an exchange traded funds, an index funds, I'm not betting on one particular company. I know that this index is just reacting to what happened in that particular day. Next year, around this time, we're probably not even going to remember that on the 10th, I think it was the 10th last Friday,
Yes.
that Trump sent that tweet
Yes.
and blah, blah, blah. We're not going to remember in detail as to what these particular days were. But I just want to know that I put in the work on those days. And yeah, when I look back to April, when I look back to the way my account dipped down in April, it was disgusting. Right after Liberation Day, but same thing. I'm glad that I uh invested more heavily. Every time I think back nowadays, now that I have the money mindset that I have today, that I have now, I always think to myself, I wish I had invested more.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I have to get I hope one day I'm at a place where I don't even think that anymore. And I really truly invested to the max and don't even have to think that anymore. But I'm still thinking that. I'm still thinking I
Yes.
wish I had invested more when these days happen
I
because
think
I know it's gonna recover. I know the
yes.
investments that I'm in. There's very few that are in the red or giving me trouble. And I'm willing to share that too. Recently, on a video I did this week, I talked about my Target stock. Target stock is a disaster. But thankfully, Apple and Amazon and Nvidia and so many other things are going in
Yes.
the right direction. And so I'm not going to beat myself up about the few mistakes that I've made because truly they were mistakes that I pretty much almost couldn't avoid. I didn't know the struggles one after another after another that that particular individual company was going to run into. So
Great, great tips. I hope you guys were listening, took out your pens, or go even better, go over and watch that video that Lisa put out this week. So I want to read some of the comments. Sarah says, I'm more mindful of spending on my credit card. I try to keep it at 25% of the credit limit and pay what I spend within 30 days. That's important, serious. Good job with doing what you need to do because I think the majority of people really don't focus on that credit card utilization and paying off the debt and just sticking to paying minimum payments. But we'll save that for another day. But anything that you want to end this conversation today with, Lisa? Uh, any like a tip for somebody, like, I don't know, give drop a jewel for them.
oh my
Lisa,
goodness, I
drop
don't
a
know.
jewel for them.
Um, just seek out help. Don't panic, don't freeze, don't be intimidated by
Mhm.
investing, especially. Make sure that you're maximizing every dollar and reach out and get yourself around people that are um on the same path and have the same, mindset as you.
Mhm.
And I once said that, I'm not a person that says, people come into your life for a reason and a season. But meaning you don't have to eliminate certain friends, but you know who to go to to get
Mhm.
certain insights. If I want to talk about, you know, certain things, I know I would reach out to Marlene for them because I know what type of encouragement she is going to give. It might not be a topic I want to bring to someone else. And I say all that to
Mhm.
say that um, just make sure not to feel intimidated and feel alone in the process of getting on path with your investing, figuring out the best place to be holding your savings and things like that, because this opportunity of building our financial future, I don't want it to pass you by, and it is for all of us. um, every gender, every race. I don't want anyone to be left behind thinking that it's for the rich. It's for all of us.
Mhm. That's a great way to end today's conversation. And I agree, Lisa, because so often we we will think that it's only for certain people, right? Because I've heard that many times, but it just shows the ignorance of that person, and also what other people have told them. We have to get in the driver's seat of our life, and gain knowledge, learn things for ourselves. Yeah, sometimes you're going to make some mistakes, but then you got to forgive yourself and then move on and think about the things that are going well in your life. I always like to shift your mind on that. Focus on what's going well, and don't focus on what you didn't like. So I hope there were some tips in this that you really think about. Take some notes. Go over to Lisa's channel if you want to hear more conversations about investing. It's Lisa J Stocks. I'm going to leave her her link in the description box as well. And my last words that I want to say when we're talking about, our financial future and planning for it, we have to remember that it's up to us. It can't, it's not who you're in a relationship with, your kids, your parents. While those people affect us, we are the ones that have to say, I gotta I have to pay attention to what I can afford. I have to do better. And it means being accountable for ourselves, showing up for ourselves, and making good decisions by getting advisors. And like Lisa said, getting behind people who are really going to be there and support us for whatever it is that we're trying to do. So great conversation. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, everybody. The next time it will be over on Lisa's channel. And yeah, we'll see you guys back in about 2 weeks from now. We'll be on Lisa's, and then 2 weeks from then we'll be back here. So 1 month before you guys will see me back over here and Lisa. Thank you guys.
Good
See you guys
night.
on the next one. Bye bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.